Do you think that they had your phones tapped and everything because the intelligence that they have?
I think so.
Man,
I would say I kind of knew they were gonna show up, and then I'm laying in bed by myself, and I'm like, chingao, they're gonna come in here and do a Marilyn Monroe, put something in my culo, overdose,
Yeah.
Find me face down with a phone in my hand.
Right. It's been done.
If they can do Marilyn Monroe, they can do George Lopez.
Yeah, it can be done.
The way I treat those dogs, they're not gonna bark. He's upstairs.
Right. Big Boy's Neighborhood. Beautiful day in the neighborhood, ladies and gentlemen. Pleasure to have this man back in the neighborhood, man. George Lopez, welcome back to the neighborhood, brother.
Yeah, hey. It's been a long time.
I know, man, but you know what, man? It's been a long time, but you never get far away from me. You know what I'm saying? Even when we're not sitting down, we're always kind of like checking in with each other, though.
That's exciting to hear because I'm 62. I live at home by myself with those rescue dogs. So when I do fall out, I think they might smell the dogs before they smell me decomposing upstairs.
Hey, George, so you live alone?
Yeah.
Man.
And my house is haunted.
Oh,
What?
yeah.
Yeah.
You still at the same place?
I'm still at the same place.
Yeah, man.
Why is it haunted?
I guess it's been there forever, and there's just spirits come down. They're like, hey, it's kind of nice in here.
Yeah, like, why would they leave?
But, we've heard voices in there. There's been banging. Mom will tell you that there's entities that you see walking by or walking in the middle of the night.
And you're comfortable with that?
Yeah.
They're not kicking in no mortgage or
Hey,
nothing?
man, listen, when you grow up, the cucuy, the lechuza, every lady watering the grass with a llorona, you're kind of built in.
But you built for this.
No, there'll be some ladies, but like, llorona should be a fucking kid. Every fucking time it gets dark.
Hey, man, but you in there and you've heard it, because I remember the one time, and you got a lot of history in the house as well, man. But yeah, I don't know now, because growing up, we had everything, bro. We had rats, we had roaches, we had spirits. And now that I'm a little bit older, I don't think I could just sit and know that something else is in the house spiritually.
Man, maybe a couple months ago, I had a folder on top of my bed, leather folder with a scarf up there, and it'd been there for maybe 3 months. Mm-hmm. And I get up in the middle of the night sometimes because I go to bed early, and I start working in the middle of the night. And one time about 3:30, it always happens between 3 and 4, that scarf came off of the top of the bed and landed on my arm. And I was like, that didn't just happen. And I'm like, yeah, it did. It just kind of came down and just landed on my arm.
Like somebody picked it up and tossed it?
Like someone was just kind of like, just let me put it next to you. Like maybe somebody came next to me. There's somebody that
Don't show me nothing in your phone, bro, because I'm going to leave.
I knew that passed, and their face came to my, because I kind of felt that there was somebody in the other room, and then I ran the camera, but I looked the other way as if you're trying to psych out a ghost. I'm going like this. The ghost, I can't see. He can see me.
Like how and people pick you up in the airport. Oh, there you go. There goes George.
Is that Bradley Cooper?
Right. Yeah, man.
I'm out. Bradley Cooper.
So that's what you did with the ghost, the spirit in the house?
With the ghost, yeah.
Like, yeah, if they don't see me doing this.
Watch this. He moves out of the way. See that?
Wait, hold on, man. What am I looking at here?
That's a face. I lit it up. So this was sitting next to me on the bed. And then he moves out of the way. You see him move out of the way?
Hey, man.
See him move out of the way?
I'm gonna tell you right now, bro. Watch this, George. I didn't see nothing.
Okay.
I saw it, but I ain't invite nothing in. Yeah, I ain't invite nothing in. And at no point do you get up and try to find another house or at least go stay at a hotel for the night, or you just good?
That's a good question, man. Mm-hmm. Because there used to be a lot of knocking and pinging, and you could hear talking. And I said, if it ever like touches me, then I'm out.
Right.
Because
what about the scarf falling on your arm? That's not touch enough.
That might have been it. But it's an older house, so when you walk into an older house, you hear creaking. So in the middle of the night, you'll hear creaking. So I guess maybe the ghost gets up to go to the bathroom as many times as I do.
Right.
But we go at different times, you know. But you hear like steps and then it stops.
You know what you hear after you hear? That's what you hear from me. So, yeah. Hell yeah, man.
Yeah. So yeah, Momo will tell you, and then you know I did DoorDash commercial for like when the pandemic was on, like letting the actors that aren't working have the money from the tips from DoorDash, and the lady was in there setting up the camera, and she kind of went like this, and she goes, "Could you tell whoever's talking to stop talking?" And I said, "There's nobody else here, just us."
Damn.
And then when I was done, I went upstairs, and then she was getting the stuff ready, and then she said to Momo, "I don't know how he lives here. Like I can hear a woman talking like really low."
Yeah, that's when I'm gone, bro.
And then people come in there, and I leave there's a closet there that you know when you used to go over people's houses, you would say, "Oh, let me take your jacket," you know, and put it in this kind of small closet. And the first person that was like a spiritual person or a person that you know either cleans houses or whatever, they said to me, "What's going on with this closet right here?" I said, "I don't know. Like, what do you think?" She goes, "No, I think did the person have kids that lived here?" I said, "Probably."
Man.
And it said, I wouldn't close the door to this closet. I would always leave it open. Don't close that door. Like there's bad energy in that closet. Like like maybe they put the kids in there to punish them. And she goes, don't. And then upstairs there's an attic, but a low attic. And I would hear things rattling in there. And what I mean, just loud, like just you know.
Like you know it's not just in your head. Like
so I had to walk over there and there's a switch. I turned the switch on and I had to open it up. And man, you just hard as jumping up. I had my gun. Like what am I gonna do?
You gonna murder the dead?
But yeah, the ghost. Hey you! And, you know, looks like a little hole in there. Just like goes like this. It closes like. But I mean, it's been a trip, man.
Hey, George, can we do like a neighborhood sleepover at your house?
We could do that.
Yeah, man, and we'll bring our production guys with the mics turned up.
Crazy.
Yeah, and we'll do like a neighborhood
hunters?
sleepover. Yeah, we do like neighborhood ghost hunters.
Wow.
All right. Somebody sleeps in the closet.
Oh,
No, brother, no.
You know what? We'll do it in the living room, but
Yeah.
we'll do it in the living room. We'll
Yeah,
lay blankets in the living room. There's, you know, I got vinyl in there with some music.
Right.
There's a little bar. You know, even if they're not around, they go, "Hey, you see what's going on in Georgia? I'll float over there, check out what's happening."
Hey, man, George Lopez in the neighborhood, man. And George, we've been in the neighborhood and we've had a chance to sit down quite often, George. But I did not, George, before comedy, were you trying to be a boxer?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I was about to say, what the hell? Because I had never heard
hit
that.
enough. But
Because I got hit it up. And by who?
you know, my mom hit me with a belt buckle like in the eye.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, "Hey, you know, you've been a mom long enough. Don't you know you're supposed to hold the buckle part and hit him with the other side?"
Yeah.
Like, you know, how long you been a mom? 8 years. Man, that's not a mistake, you know, they make while I'm in diapers.
Right.
And just swung around, hit me in my eye, man, like with the buckle. And it's like, yeah. So, you know, there was a lot of that. But, you know, I don't know, man. You know, I think, you know, it's hard to say, man. Like, you know, people are into the spiritual stuff and manifestations and things like that. But, you know, I didn't know my father. I didn't know my mom. I don't have any pictures of me as a baby. I don't really show up until first grade.
Yeah, man. That's crazy, though. Hey, dude, have you, and like with me, I don't have baby pictures. I don't have any of that stuff. And I'll look, George, and I'll see sometimes where it's like a TV show or you see something and it's like, oh, everybody had their baby pictures. And I'm like, I couldn't be a part of that because I don't have anything. Mine don't show up to now. What I have is like 6th grade.
Yeah.
You know, because we lost everything. There was some evictions, a fire, but yeah, I don't have any of that.
You know, one time I did a show and they said that they used baby pictures of the celebrities before, and I was like, man, I don't really have any pictures. I used a picture of Mayan.
Right, yeah. Like, what they gonna do? Yeah.
You know, they're young enough to where you can't tell what gender it is. Right. You know, swapped up in a little white blanket. I used that. It was mine. Because I didn't want to tell them I don't have any pictures of me as a baby.
Oh, yeah. Hey, George, so what did you do before comedy really started? And we've had this conversation, but before comedy start so-called paying the bills, because now you look at comedy and you can have followers, you can jump on Instagram. It's not like you know, there's still some people out there that's really sharpening the skill. but you had to do open mic nights, you know,
You had to
a
leave
lot
the
of nights for
house.
free. Yeah,
Yeah.
you had to leave the house,
You
man.
had to leave the house.
What
So-
did you do beforehand, before comedy like took off?
When I first graduated from high school in '79, I worked at a book publishing place off of Sherman Way in Laurel Canyon called Powers Book Publishing. And then when I did my first show, I named the place Powers Aviation, and I used to work for Powers.
Wow.
Because the guy, and I named the guy Mel Powers in my show. The guy's name was Melvin Powers. And he fired me because he came over with some clients. Back there, they would ship books, you know, like how to play blackjack and how to be a gardener. It's like all how-to books. And the guy came over and he says, George, so how's everything going? I said, pretty good, Melvin. And I looked over and his face was like, oh man, dude, I'm going to get fired, man. And then he fired me for calling him Melvin. Instead of calling him Mr. Powers.
Damn.
So when the show came, they said, well, we're going to name the place. I said, let's name it Powers Aviation, and then we'll name the dude Mel Powers.
Hey, man, is Melvin Powers, was he still alive when your show started?
No, he probably did.
Oh, damn.
He was all in his tennis gear, but, you know, he didn't look healthy back then.
Okay, right.
I doubt it. And then, you know, I used all real names of places in the show, all my teachers' names and stuff like that. But then I worked there, and then I worked in Northridge at Tandon Magnetics, and then I worked with my grandmother on Balboa at Sperry Aviation. She'd been there for like 30 years, and then that's where we used to drive together to work. And then Richard Pryor lived down in Partinia, and my grandmother would be like, ¿Para dónde vamos? I said, just right here. Para cosa de los negros. Hey, at least get oranges, because it's orange tree. But I would drive by his house every night with my grandmother in the car. My grandma was like, where are we going, back to that place again? I would just drive by.
Just to have that aura with Richard Pryor. Hey, man, did you always know you wanted to be a comedian? Because a lot of comedy could come from dark places too. Like, how do you make this funny?
I mean, I think maybe from the time I was 11, you know, I was writing jokes, and I would get like little, you know, write on the backs of the envelopes at the gas company, all the bills, right? Just, and then I started to buy those little things that the detectives take out at the scene.
Right,
You know, like, so what was his name? You know,
like the little flip notebooks.
I had a bunch of those, still have them. You know, that from back then. And then in 1979, I wrote myself a note, like August 6th or 4th of 1979, saying that one day America would know me, that I would be great, and that I would hit them like a hammer and all this. And I signed it in 1979. And then,
Did anybody believe that?
No.
Besides you?
Nobody believed me. You know, Latinos, you know, like in Spanish, they would say, hey, George, ¿puedo sigas con las pendejadas, cabrón? They're like, yeah, you know, you're still doing that stupid shit that you used. And I'm like, yeah, you know, nobody ever really gave you any credit for it, you know. And then they used to have boxing at the country club in Reseda. And when I was working in Northridge, my friend Manny used to be a boxer. Manny Olivas, he lived in Canoga Park. And then we went one time, and Michael J. Fox was there at the fights when Back to the Future was #1, and then he had his show on NBC. And my friend Ernie was with me, the guy I grew up with, and I said to him when we were leaving, I said, man, what's it like to have a TV show on the air and you have the #1 movie? And right now I have a #1 movie and I have the TV show on the air.
Man, how crazy is that, bro? How crazy is that? In full circle. And you know what's wild about that too, man, is that, like, when you say no one believed it.
Nobody.
And then also, man, it wasn't like a lot of George Lopez's out there.
No.
Like, now we can look and there's like people like, oh, I want to be like George Lopez. Right. I want to be. You didn't have a strong, you know, we had like Freddie Prinze Jr., you know, but then you say like Pryor, you know, there's the big names, the Carlin, but you didn't have a George Lopez, like somebody that really looked like you, that was cut from the cloth, came from the same turf, like people have with George Lopez now.
No, nobody.
So you didn't even have a I can be like. You know how now somebody can say, oh, I can be like George Lopez.
No. And then, you know, once Richard Pryor Live in Long Beach came out, my friend Ernie had on TV, and then, you know, they had VHS. So he ran me a VHS, and I had a VHS. And I would run that all day, like in the summer, every day, just from the morning till the night, just watching it all day. And my grandmother would go to work, and she would look at the TV and look at me, just shake her head and leave and come back from work, and it would still be on. And I'd be in a different place. You know, she would just be like, no te enfadas, like, you don't get sick of looking at that. And I'm like, no, not at all.
Did you always believe in you, though?
No.
Right.
And then, you know, I always say that Richard Pryor was the only black person my grandma let in the house, but by VHS.
Right.
By VHS.
And she would just make fun of him every day, like, you know, it's tired to see that. And then, man, I mean, this is crazy. So when my grandmother died, I cremated her, you know, and I buried half of her, and I kept half because I couldn't imagine my life without. It's crazy. And then Richard Pryor passed away, and I spoke at his funeral, like I eulogized him. And then one time his ex-wife said to me, "I have something to give you that, you know, I think, but I want to give it to you in person." So she came to my house and she gave me this little box, and I opened it up and it said Richard Lennox Franklin Pryor, had the dates, and it had a bracelet in there. So she gave me some of his remains in a bracelet of Richard Pryor.
This is the same kid that used to just let me drive me by the house.
Yeah. And then I went upstairs and I put the Richard Pryor bracelet on top of my grandmother.
Damn.
Because you didn't like him then. How about how about in the afterlife, cabrón? Ay, ¿qué estás haciendo? I can feel el Willy me está pegando en my back. Right in the middle of my back, tiene el Willy ahí. Ow! Está caliente como a curly
George, how did you find George Lopez? Because, you know, like, I'm pretty sure that it took some time for you to tell your story, because were you starting off with, like, you know, punchlines and things that weren't to the core of George?
That's a really good question. So in the early 90s, I started doing Arsenio in '89, and then in the 90s, you know, you do Arsenio, and then really like '93, it was in a terrible place, man. Like just going nowhere. You know, I quit my job in like '87, and I was headlining at Caroline's, and there was this guy that was with me that was just killing me every night, man. I was like, damn, man, this dude's like killing me. And then this guy, what's his name? He worked at 3 Arts. I forgot what his name. I forget his name. Wow. So anyway, he's a manager at 3 Arts, and Chris Rock was really, really like early 90s. It's Mike Rotenberg, you know, ran 3 Arts, and this guy, I can't remember his name. So he came to me, and afterwards he said, "Do you mind if I give you some constructive criticism?" I said, "Yeah, go ahead." He goes, "Hey man, when I watch you, man, like I don't know what you're into. I don't know if you're married. I don't know what your politics are. I don't know anything about your family. I don't know if you have brothers and sisters." And he goes, "You know, when you see Chris, you know where he is, like politically, you know where he is and all that stuff." And he goes, "You might consider like, you know, putting a little bit more of that in there." I was like, "Yeah, I think you're right." So I walked back to the Mayfair House Hotel in New York, and then I started thinking about it in the morning. I started to write all this stuff about my grandmother, and I think that was it. Like, that he was right. That it was a little mundane, and then when I started talking about my grandmother like that, everything changed.
Yeah, and you can notice the difference right away.
Right away, you know, right away we start doing.
Why did you listen to him though?
Because you know, I can't see from the outside. You know, like people go take golf lessons and they show you on video, and you know, they're like, "Oh, let's video your swing." And you go, "Man, all I can see is I'm fat."
Right.
But I think when you know what's inside, that you. So I said, I think this guy I think he's right. You know, because I'd never really talked about anything like that, and then that was the key that took everything. Because I remember I saw Tim Allen in Indianapolis right before Home Improvement, and you know, everything that was in his act was in the TV show. And I remember sitting back there and I was like, man, I don't have anything that's in my act that's in my TV show. And then, you know, in the 2000s, you know, Sandra Bullock saw me in 2001. And then we went over here to Warner Brothers and pitched the idea to Bruce Elford, who did Roseanne, and Drew Carey. And he said, yeah. And then when I started to talk to those guys, you know, the show kind of started coming out. I remember they had this writer's assistant, you know, we were over there, and then she started crying, you know, and we're like, are you all right? And she goes, "It's just so sad,"
right?
You know, and I said, yeah, you know, but you know, it's going to be funny too, you know. So that whole thing of the show being, you know, real started there in some room by some writer's assistant.
Hey George, I remember years ago we had a conversation, and if anybody can look back at it, you did a lot of like comedy really with your eyes. Yeah. And when you got to television,
TV,
they told you like
the first couple were pretty. They were like pretty big. Like what? You know. And they're like, hey man, it's a little. And then you know they put that in the review of the show, and they were like, this guy's not. This isn't gonna work out. This dude. That's his punchline. Like, hey,
you know what's crazy, George, is that you can't even really do it
I can't do it
right now. No. And I'm talking about if anyone look at early George Lopez, like you did a lot of comedy with your eyes, bro. And when somebody comes and tell you, slow down, like you're doing too much.
The couple notes I got was don't pop your eyes out, and then I wore a sweater one time and they said, your tits are too big. So those are the two things. When you do TV, it adds weight. All of a sudden, you're like, let me see, and you look at the picture, what the fuck? That full C cup, and I'm like, hang on a second, I'm gonna go change this thing, put a jacket on, man. But I was sitting in a way, my tits were out there. It's like, God damn. Hey, my eyes are up here. Wow. It's like, you look at my chichis, man. I was lactating with that one with a little wet dot right there. And I'm lactating también,
Hey, George, you come from a comedy when everything you can make a joke out of everything. You can laugh off of some of the craziest things now, bro. Yeah. Are you gun shy with comedy? Oh, okay.
No. Because, how here's one that said, everything is somebody else's business. Like nobody minds their own business. So, when I was in New York, I was eating a hot dog. You're eating a hot dog, and this guy's looking at me, and I'm like, what's this fucking guy looking at? And then, he's like, he says to me, hey, when you know how they make those, you don't ever want to eat another one. And I'm like, oh, yeah, well, I know what a culo does. I still eat that. Right. So, and that kind of stuff. And I know what's in there. Right. So that kind of like how quiet it is. Right. So, but that takes a little bit of, effort.
Damn. So you don't get gun shy now? Like, no. Oh, could I? Yeah, man.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think listen, man, it's like, why, I mean, I don't know. It and I don't really talk to anybody outside of this stuff, it's very keep to myself, And then we were in San Antonio just recently, and a lady had balloons, and it said "single and ready to mingle," and she goes, "George, I'm single and ready to mingle," and I'm like, "Hey, well, congratulations, I'm alone and ready to bone." So I mean, I don't think I can. I think it's just whether they like it or not.
Oh,
I mean, hey. I mean, I said something about our former leader. The Secret Service came to my house. I mean,
what with Trump?
Yeah.
Oh man.
And I had my attorney with me, and then they said, "Do you remember retweeting a picture of El Chapo?"
Yeah.
And I was like, El Chapo.
Right. Yeah.
I love it.
What name El Chapo? I said, "Is he a Gypsy King?"
Right.
Like, I don't know. And then they took. They have everything you ever put on social media. They have access, everybody. So he says, maybe this will, he opens his briefcase, and there's a picture of it, of a T-shirt in it.
They took the time to investigate and come to your house. But you know what? Secret Service been on you before, because didn't you do the speech at the White House? And you took your speech.
I think maybe three's the charm. So he says, do you think that this is funny? My lawyer's like, you don't have to answer that, And I'm like, right now I don't, but you turn into like a little kid. Right now, but when I did. I thought, but right now I don't. And then there was the alleged $80 million bounty that Iran had put, and then como pendejo, on a Sunday afternoon I put, we'll do it for half.
Yeah, they came at you for that.
Yeah. And then they said that's a threat, and I said, well, I'm a Latino, so I don't think you understand. That's more of an estimate.
Right. Yeah.
That's my price. I mean, you get somebody to do it cheaper, get them. But I mean, that's with material and everything. That's me.
With material, dog.
I know it's a little high, but just.
But
I'm not offended. Ask her out. I'll be right here. But I mean, one time when I first moved in, I was trying to be all, non-Chicano.
But ask around.
Not Chicano, I said, I'm going to set my alarm, and then when I get back on Sunday, I don't know the code, pendejo, It's all the same code anyways. So I'm trying to run around and do the code, and then I finally get it, and then 20 minutes later, you hear, open it up, the LAPD. It's a white cop and then a Latino cop. And the Latino cop goes, hey, what's up? And I said, oh, man, with the alarm? Yeah, sorry, man. Like, I don't know. I never set the alarm, and I set the alarm, and, it just went off, man. And then there's silence, And then the white cop goes, can I see some ID?
Oh,
and I said, God. Yeah. And the Latino cop goes, yeah, that's Georgia. Yeah, just for me. So I said, come on in. And I can't find it,
Right.
So I can't find my license. I always lose my wallet. I can't find my license. So we're in the house looking around, and you've been to the house. It doesn't.
Yeah.
There's really not. It doesn't look a lot like the house I would, So I'm looking around. I'm like, chingao, man. It doesn't even look like I live here. And I'm like, shit.
He has a case.
Yeah, man.
So I'm like, yeah. I go, this is all your stuff. I said, yeah. And then I go, oh. So I go to the refrigerator, open it up. There's chile in there, corn flour.
Oh, yeah.
There's some, some costillas and red chile. That guy goes, that's good enough for me. All right. Sorry to bother you. But nobody in that neighborhood has costillas there with red chile.
Right.
And corn and flour.
Right. Hey, man.
And tortillas wrapped in a trapo. You open it up.
Hey, George, what looked like the as far as the landscape that we're about to get into politically, it looked like again. It looks bad. It looks horrible. The indictments that's going on with Trump. Yeah. Like, do you feel like when you say something that Secret Service will pop up at your house again, or you just say what's on your mind?
I would hope not.
Right.
But at some point, that's kind of like, where's the line? Somebody says, you push the envelope. Where's my line? I don't want any more visits because I think at the next one, they might, consider a threat, thing. But, the Secret Service, I made coffee and everything. They don't want to drink coffee in my house, So I was like, hey, get you guys anything? No. I want to get something to drink,
Hey, man, do you
Sprite,
think that
corn and flour tortilla, chile.
If they went through all that, do you think that they had your phones tapped and everything? Because the intelligence that they have.
I think so.
Man.
I would say.
And it's not paranoia. This is like real. They showed up.
It's a little paranoia. But, the week that they were going to come, like, it was on Fox News and then, I kind of knew they were gonna show up. And then, I'm laying in bed by myself and I'm like, chingao, they're going to come in here and do a Marilyn Monroe, put something in my culo, overdose, find me face down with a phone in my hand.
Right. It's been done.
If they can do Marilyn Monroe, they can do George Lopez.
Yeah, it can be done.
The way I treat those dogs, they're not going to bark. He's upstairs.
Right.
Yelling at him all day. Shut up. Yeah. He's upstairs.
We've been waiting on you guys to get here.
Shh. Don't worry, we're not going to bark.
Hey, man, what do you feel about all the indictments with Trump right
I think
now?
He would have made a good Chicano, man, because that vato, he doesn't back away, and he walks out there. They indicted me again.
Right.
Yeah. Can you believe it? I got 73 indictments.
Dang. Teflon Don, bro.
I think at some point, nobody should be above the law. And I think at some point, if the laws are broken, that you have to pay for breaking the law.
Yeah, man.
So Joe Biden's son, crackhead, loses his computer. A lot of crackheads lose a computer.
Right.
Then the Republicans end up with it and all that. And they're like, oh, he used his job to make money, for his son. But then Jared Kushner was like, he put him in charge of like businesses in other countries. He made billions of dollars, and over here you're just looking for like $11 to buy another rock.
Right.
Versus that little guy with a pipa with no shirt on. Hang on a second. Yeah, post it. I don't care. I'm good. So it's just there's a double-edged thing, but you just really kind of want. I mean, there's so much hate, man. It's like kinds of hate, death threat. I got death threats. Man. There was a guy in Florida that had a list of 100 people that he wanted to blow up. It's politicians and people in other countries, and I was on the list.
Damn.
So and
we should have definitely did this via Zoom.
Oh, and DL Hughley is like, was I on the list? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be on the list. He goes, right. Yeah, but I talk more about him than you do. I mean, I should be on the list. Hey, listen, man, you're upset because you're not on the list to get blown up. All right.
Yeah.
Hey, you can have my spot. Here, come and sit right here. So when they caught that guy, he lived in his van. He was in Florida. And they had a list of 100 people, and they had pipes that he had already made. So. Yeah. They called me and I was doing a movie out of town that's like all the FBI, the sheriffs, park department, school cops, highway patrol, everybody, every law enforcement got on a call, and they told me that that I had been on this list, and for me not to open any suspicious packages. And then when they hung up, it's almost like, all right, we're done. So they put it on you They take it off of them and put it on you. So once they tell you don't open any suspicious package, and you do, their liabilities is over.
They're
so
like ours? All right.
they just kind of wash their hands like, all right, who's next? You know. And then I said to them, I said, well, wait a minute. So suspicious packages, and they're like, yeah, you know. And I said, well, you know, culturally, you know, a lot of our food comes in suspicious packages.
Right.
Like, you know, it might be like, I can't believe it's not butter, but then there's, you know, chile in there. You know, you know, it might look like C4, but it's some tamales, you know, wrapped in foil.
Yes,
but, you know,
sir.
they might look like wires, but there's a corn husk hanging out. And they're like, don't open it. They go, don't open any of that.
That's
like,
when Momo opening your stuff nervous and sweating.
I think they're chicken, but hang on a second. You know.
Hey man, it's crazy that an opinion in comedy can get you here though.
It is because, you know, I've said some stuff that was like just I kind of think like innocuous, man, and then people go crazy. But you know, the right wing stuff, and I mean they send DMs to you, and they're pretty graphic, man, really terrible, man. And it's like, you know, if you're sending them from an account, you can screenshot and just send people the account and stuff like that. So, but I mean, it's 24 hours a day, like death threats still. Damn. So you know, but all anonymous, you know, like that's the thing. It's all anonymous. I mean, you know, if you look at where we come from, like, you know, as soon as you're old enough to put water in the beans, you start getting death threats. You know, as soon as you're old enough to hold a ladder, you know, keep a secret, they're like, hey, tell your dad I'm gonna kill you. Like, I'm not gonna say anything. You're 5. I'm not gonna say anything. You know, so you know that's why, you know, that's why I respect my grandma. When my grandma told me she was gonna kill me, she told me to my face. You know, it's almost like Scream the movie. You know, the police call you. The calls are coming from inside the house. Grandma, hang it up! Son of a bitch. You know. So I mean, it's if they want to get you, they're going to get you. But you know, it's mostly cowards, man. It's like,
George
you know,
Lopez.
Leave your name and address.
What did you do during the recent hurricane that we were going to have? And thank God, man, we're all good and safe. But were you scared or prepared?
I sat on my porch, rooting for my neighbor's trees to fall.
Really?
But they didn't. But yeah, I got a neighbor that has a barking dog and these trees that, you know, things fall in my yard, and then you're just like, man, you know,
like you want something to uproot it,
man. Yeah.
Did you prepare for it, or you wasn't tripping?
No, I don't think I.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't tripping.
Yeah, man.
But I mean, the idea that there's a hurricane, you know, in Los Angeles.
Yeah, man.
The idea of that, but
yeah,
people that were affected by it, yes, but you know, there's no rain, then there's rain, then there's a hurricane. That, you know, people are like
George, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg. They talking about fighting the billionaire brawl. Are you familiar with that?
No, but I would probably take Mark. Yeah. I'll probably take Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, man. And he really trained.
You get old enough, man. I can't even open Gatorade. Check out, I had to get a vice grip and fucking pipe wrench to open up. I can't even open a Gatorade, man.
Hey, man, do you find now, George, being in your 60s, is it a different world?
Man, it's a different world, man.
Oh, man.
I mean, yeah, it just, you know, you don't think of getting old, and then it happens, and then you realize, man, you know, like one time I was walking, you know, and you almost trip it, but you kind of like are running, you know, like you kind of look like you're trying to catch yourself. Yeah. And then some dude goes, don't try to be young, puto. I almost crushed my face, man. I was running like, whoa. Hey. And I caught myself and tried to be young, puto. I break my fucking eye orb, eye socket.
Hey, George, is it different now doing the George Lopez squat when you come out on stage? Or
I don't go all the way down, you know, it's just almost like ceremonious. They kind of just go, you know. Yeah. Slow down, kind of just go. That's it. Should have seen me at 8 this morning.
Oh my God!
Do that. I tapped my legs so I could at least count.
Man!
But it definitely the squat is it's definitely a lot higher. You know?
Hey man, do you ever?
I'm just gonna go like this. I was like,
just do a little
like
curtsy. Hey man, do you ever look at any of like the old George Lopez episodes or anything like that?
Yeah, I go to the doctor. You know, they say, you want to watch TV? And then I watch myself, and they're like, I didn't know your son was an actor.
Right. Like, no, that's me.
So you're 40. This is what's messed up. You're 44 in the morning and 62 at night. It's like the temperature. The morning's going to be cold. It's going to be 44. But then it's going to heat up to 62. I mean, I look way different than I did because you get older, man. But, you know, I went one time to to go to the Hollywood Wax Museum to take a friend. So I said, hey, they're like, go on up there. And I stood next to my wax figure, which is from when I was 50.
Different in the last 12 years?
And they're like, hey, man, we're not going to change it. It's a lot to do. I said, no. I don't leave it.
Or when you standing there, somebody else be like, sir, can you move? We want to get a picture with George.
I'm going to go and stand by Elton John. I think it's washed out. You know?
Damn.
But I mean, it doesn't, you know.
But you here, though, man.
But I'm here.
Yeah. Do you ever trip off of, like, your show is on all the time?
Yeah. You know, I do, man. You know, like in 2002, you know, nobody thought that it was ever going to do anything. And then in the 21 years that it's been done or around, it's never been off for a day.
Damn. That's crazy, man. I remember George 20-something years ago when you was like, man, they ordered 4 episodes. And I remember we were on air. Man, make sure you guys check it out. Make sure. And then they got the 8. And then I remember you called me. You was like, man, they picked up the back end. We got, and then the season 2. And I remember your number at that point. You were like, man, if we can make it to 88 episodes, I'm in syndication. Yeah. And you hit that 88 plus, man, and it has not stopped.
And even when you watch the show, the 88th episode, I'm wearing a Dale Jarrett jersey, like a NASCAR jersey. He was number 88.
Oh, wow. So you knew.
I knew him. So I called him and I said, hey, man, can you send me an 88 jersey? Because my TV show is reaching the 88th episode, which is syndication. So the number 88 I'm wearing on the show, that was the number 88
So
show.
you knew that meant something.
I knew that it meant something.
Man. Hey, George. With many years that you've been on, can you still hear the laughter?
Wow, that's a good question. It's wild, man, because, you know, in the beginning, it's really loud. Like, you walk out, it's like really loud. Almost like, you know, you're like, damn, it's loud. And so it's more of almost like in tennis, you know, you hear the ball hit and then you see it coming back. So I think it's more of a rhythm than it is actual a sound.
Gotcha.
Than a sound.
Do you still enjoy comedy?
Yeah, I think so, man. I think so.
Like, well, I'm gonna be at the Greek big. Like,
No, I think so. But you know, there's people that do it that don't really like. I mean, it's the one thing that's never left me. You know, like the things that, you know, people that are gone and everything like that. But you know, the idea of writing stuff, you know, it's never left. Whatever that was, or whatever that gift that was given to me, like to be able to write.
And you do it because you want to, not because you have to.
No, yeah, I love to. Yeah,
too.
because I think, you know, like people say, well, why do you still do it? I mean, you know, the thing is, it's like almost like, you know, if you could fly, why wouldn't you fly until you didn't want to fly anymore? You know,
right.
That's what it's like to be able to have people come and see you, be lucky enough to be around all those years, and then be able to still have people come and see you wherever you go.
George, when you do LA shows, like, or if you do something like, you know, in Orange County, whatever, do you come from the house or do you take the hotel that's in like the Ryder?
That's a good. I come from the house. That's a good question. I come from the house. When I was married, I think
you ever
I
got
went to the
caught in
hotel.
Traffic?
Yes.
What when you got met when you were married? What?
I probably took the hotel.
Right.
But I've been caught in traffic. Yeah, I've been caught in traffic in Long Beach out there at the Terrace Theater.
Right.
I got caught, you know, you're like, I don't think we're gonna make it. And in San Antonio, we got caught in traffic, and I got out and walked like the 4 blocks.
It was quicker.
That I needed to get out there. Yeah.
Do you like say for instance there's a show that's going on? Do you get there early enough? Like if you go on at 8. What time do you make sure that you're there? And do you have any like rituals before the show, like superstitions?
Yeah, from the 80s, by 3 o'clock, I take a nap before. So it's every time there's a show from 3 to 6, usually 2 to 6.
At the venue?
No, at wherever I'm at.
Okay,
and then I try to get there at least 2.5. You know, some dudes, man, just get in there. I'm there like hours before, like maybe 5:30.
I noticed that too.
Yeah,
and you have like a very calm room.
Yeah.
And then, you know, people come in, they say hello, and then at one point, everybody leaves the room.
Right.
And then you get George Lopez time.
Yeah. And then there's nobody in there, and then it's just, you know.
Right.
But Charlie Murphy, when Charlie Murphy was alive, he'd walk in there, and he'd be like, hey, chingon. He'd sit there and smoke a joint in there and talking to me, and then at 8:15, I'd throw him out. Like the show started at 8:30, at 8:15, he'd be like, hey, man, get out of here.
Right. You need that time?
Yeah.
What do you do in that time?
Yeah, it's probably just really quiet, and then, you know, they tell you how much time a person has left, and then at 15 minutes, I start to get dressed.
Right.
So
you don't sit around in the clothes?
Yeah.
Do you still get nervous?
No.
Nah?
No. A little, to tell you,
there's an anticipation.
there's an anticipation, a little anxiety,
Right.
lately, but I don't know what that is.
But you'll know, but it's not like nervous.
Not nerves.
I heard that, bro.
Yeah.
When you finish with a show,
and the HBO specials I did, 4 of them all live. So I don't know if I would do any more live because now you got people yelling. You could get people yelling shit out there, trying to just disrupt. But before all this, division happened, I was doing them live because I thought, how could you make stand up a little more harder? I think make it
go live.
Do it live. Yeah.
Damn.
So more like a boxer.
What do you feel now with the camera? Like everything, like if you and the one thing also when it comes to comedians is if there's any group you're waiting for the hit record, they can tour on one album forever.
Yeah.
But comics, y'all don't have the luxury of man, there's member and there's certain things that we want from you, but you can't do the same jokes.
So you just roll them over, almost like gardening, man. You just roll it over, and the new ones come to the top, and the old ones go under. So you're always rolling it over.
Do you have a no phone policy at the show? Like
but they're usually pretty good. I got guys in there, with flashlights and stuff like that try to stop it. But yeah,
man.
One time, the crazy thing is, one time I was in Colorado at the Globe Arena. I was in an arena, so we were doing those things in the round. Mm-hmm. And I was up there, and I was almost done, and something hit the stage, and I thought somebody threw something. And I looked down, and I was like telling the audience, "Hey, man, this guy's throwing something at me, And they were kind of like, "What's that?" Some dude was in the catwalk, and he dropped the flashlight. If it would hit me on the top of the head, it would have killed me.
Hell yeah, just the momentum and the force.
Yeah. He was way at the top, walking across the stage in the catwalk, and he dropped that. They have the lighters.
Yeah.
Flashlights are that big, and you turn and stuff like that. And that fell out of his pocket and almost hit me on the top of the head.
Oh yeah,
that'd have been lights out right there.
Yeah, that would be Cancer Christmas. That would definitely be.
I'd be doing comedy with my spirits. Hey, you guys look familiar here tonight. I'm the one that was banging all the things. You were banging the things. I'm the one that was creaking with the back bladder.
I was the reason why you had to leave the door open.
Yeah.
I was the reason.
Beat those kids in there.
Hey man, and while you're here, congratulations, man, on Blue Beetle. We had a chance to talk about that. Early on when you was like, man, big, I got this movie, it's Blue Beetle. Man. And now when we fast forward, record-breaking, groundbreaking, man, just to be a part of something like that. Blue Beetle like we've never seen before. What does that feel like for George Lopez with a man that's accomplished so many things already?
It's pretty special, man. I mean, I was with Maya. I took Maya to see it, and it's all in my hand during the movie, and she's crying and stuff like that. It's amazing, man. Like you're just some kid, that nobody ever really paid attention to, and you all of a sudden you grow up, and then you get to be in this thing. I mean, I as excited as I am to be in Blue Beetle, I know I would have been that disappointed if I wasn't.
Right.
Like if I would have seen somebody else do all this stuff. But
right.
That director Angel Miguel Soto's like just some visionary, man. He's like a comic book nerd, music guy. That's why all the music is great in there and all that stories tracks. And I talked to him on the phone and got the part. And I mean, it's a great character, man.
Did they know they wanted George Lopez?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, man.
But it's a great character because a lot of the stuff was like ad-libbed, like at the end when they give me the truck and I
Don't
go,
do too much.
That's and then I said to my niece, "Hey, come and help me like it." I mean, I ad-libbed that, like very Chicano thing. Come and help me like it.
Hey, man, when you see, for one, you said you would have felt different if you weren't in it.
Yeah.
And then also there's a pride in people that don't have any connection with being in the movie, but there's a pride in watching it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because there's sometimes you're like, man, even if I'm not a part of it, I want to at least, like, this is huge.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So just to be in it and see that there's nothing that's compared to it, bro.
No, I mean, it's pretty special. But I mean, Chapulín, the Chapulín stuff, and some guy sent me a message from Las Vegas. They were watching it. A bunch of Latinos were in there, they're going crazy and stuff. And then because of the weather, the theater lost power and nobody left.
Yeah.
And then the audio came back, but not the picture. Nobody left. And then it all came back, and the theater went and rewound the movie so that nobody missed any parts of the movie. Which, like, nobody does that.
Right.
rewind. Hey, let's see that part again. All right. So I mean, that kind of it's special, man, and to have people come out and whatever 25 million or whatever it is great, considering that we couldn't promote it as actors. And,
I know, man.
And the studio really didn't promote it. And so, knowing that we would all get together and do stuff and you could do the Tonight Show with, Sholo and do all that stuff there that you couldn't do.
Yeah, man.
It's, and I think that it's got legs. I think that this weekend or the weekends that come.
Yeah, I think that it builds up too.
Yeah. And if I was a kid and I saw that movie, man, when I was 12 or something, I probably would have lost my mind. Then you realize that anything is possible.
Hey man, and Barbie had its run, but being the movie that take Barbie, the movie out of its number one slot, and you say with a sign of the times, man, like even when we sat down, we couldn't really talk about the movie. Right. You couldn't do the press run. There was no real premiere parties and everything that come with a movie.
All that big
and
stuff.
especially a movie of this magnitude.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Jackets and, things they sent to your house and all that stuff, but all the actors together. We didn't, Becky G is the voice of the thing. I mean, we all did one day like 2 months ago, and there was going to be this whole big rollout, but then, you're not able to do it. So,
Hey, man, you talked about going to go see the movie with your daughter, Mayan.
Yeah.
And y'all relationship now, do you feel like with Lopez versus Lopez that strengthened your relationship with your daughter?
Yeah. There was times that we didn't speak, I think maybe for 3 years. I only got one kid, man. And it was terrible, man, when your kid doesn't talk to you, and they're out there. And sometimes, some fathers are like, hey, being a Latino guy, you're just like, hey, you know what? Hey, that's her problem. It's not mine. But I knew it was my problem. So, we went to therapy, and I took a lot of hits. I took more hits than the Blue Beetle took.
Is it hard to hear that?
It's hard to hear it.
Right.
And
was it validated? Like you understood? Like, I hear where you coming from.
Yeah. But I mean, she's so great. I mean, it's unimaginable to think that I would have let that go for 3 years. But I can see, like one time we did Kelly Clarkson together, and then I had to get back, but I didn't tell her because Kelly Clarkson, like, you stay the whole show, and I left, but I thought she knew that I wasn't going to be there. And the next day we pulled in at the same time, and I saw her through my tinted window, and she looked at me. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, you knew her.
That face. She was all pissed off because I left, and she couldn't stay out there without me. So, she didn't get to do the whole hour with Kelly Clarkson. I was like, and when I got there, I saw her face. I was like, oh man.
Right there, I know this.
Yeah,
like I effed up.
Yeah, so we talked. We talked about that.
Hey man, and Lil Bryce is on your show as well, man.
Yeah,
man.
And shout out to Randy, rest in peace, Inky Boys, man. You saw a talent in this little kid, Bryce, man, and not only do you see the talent, but I know the Inky Boys. You got to see what that father and son, that what that family was on social media. And at that time when Randy passed, this is during the same time that Lopez versus Lopez is pretty much in its run, right?
Yeah.
What did that feel like, man, having a relationship with Pops and, his son, aside when the cameras are turned off?
When I think somebody sent me, some early Yankee Boy stuff, and they go, "That kid's hilarious, man." And he was doing the Cheech and Chong stuff, in the car, like my license, and then the idea for the show came, and then everybody's like, I think that kid would be great. Well, how do we get a hold of him? Who's having age? But I had reached out to Randy about how funny those guys were, and he called me, so I had his number, so I called him. And I said, hey, man, it's George, we have this thing going on. I think that he was close to getting the deal at Nickelodeon. And I was like, I've been at Nickelodeon. It's all right.
Right. No hate.
But it's not NBC. So I said, whatever you decide, that we want Bryce, but, we're at NBC. We'll take care of him, the show idea. And then he did that. He came over, and, we worked it out with him. And Randy was there, I think, a couple of times, but his mom and his grandma was there. And I mean, this kid in the beginning, it was a little, he's like maybe 6 or 7, so it's a little bit, because he's like
a kid.
Yeah. He's social media famous, and like in every Denny's, they got a menu with influencers, and then, they're like, he's an influencer, and I'm older. I'm like, is that one of those people that gets the kids to eat like soap?
Right.
They try to eat a whole thing of cinnamon with no white. That's like kind of. So, and then in the beginning, it was a little bit rough because he didn't have the discipline of being at a show all the time. So gradually, he started to kind of understand what the job entitles. We knew that Randy was sick, and then when Randy passed, he took a little time off and he came back. And the guy, Matt Shively, that plays, Ann's Maya's partner there, has been really great with the man, like almost like a, just a surrogate person, and Al and all that stuff. And
it had to be good for the family to have that, you guys as a family at that time too, though.
At Christmas, I gave him a Christmas present, and we're not still as close, and then when the show ended, I gave him some stuff, and he came to my room, and I'm like, hey man, I love you, I love you. And he goes, I love you too. And I was like, oh, cabrón, all cold-hearted,
Yeah.
And they come in, they go, no, he's crying he's crying outside the door. Like he didn't want me to see him emotional. So he goes, I love you.
Yeah.
And then he walks out. I'm like, how come I'm crying? He's like 8. He's not crying. They go, oh, it broke down in the hallway. All good. Now I feel better.
Right.
But I mean, I love that kid.
He had the
man.
wherewithal to make sure like he know how to hide his emotions at such an early age too.
He's great. I love him, man. He's great. And he did. Kid's, he's got more Jordan shoes than Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And then he says to Matt and Al, I'm sitting there, not to me. No one says to me, like that. And he goes, you guys ever see $500 on the floor? And they go, no. He goes, look at these.
Oh, yeah. You said he won't say that to you, huh? Like, what do we create?
He goes, this chain is $20,000.
Man.
And then what did I have? Johnny Carson's Rolex or something that I bought. And I said, you see this? This is your chain and your shoes.
Yeah.
And your mortgage.
Yeah. And it's not on the floor.
It's not on the floor. So it's fun, man. Like I gave him golf clubs. He got into golf, and he's great, man. He's great.
Man,
he's great.
George, I'm telling you, bro, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you, man.
To have you in the neighborhood, man. And once again, just congratulations,
I love you guys.
man.
Thank you, man. And know that I think I've been around a long time, but it's just almost like I really feel it now. That you're older and you realize that these things come to you that are gifts.
Mm-hmm.
From seeing Michael J. Fox, that time, and just being, and I remember seeing Richard Pryor at the Comedy Store and all those things that I think people manifest. I mean, if you want something, I would just say it, put it out there, and you never know. It might happen.
And if nobody else believe in you.
I've always believed in it. Right on, brother.
Thank you for being in the neighborhood. Ladies and gentlemen, George Lopez in the neighborhood, Big Boy's neighborhood.